If if folks can just do me a favor, I'm going to keep an eye on the audience, but if you could also keep an eye on the audience, that would be
Okay,
great.
we'll do that.
So, all right, I am calling this meeting of the GOL committee to order at 6:31 p.m. on Tuesday, October 14th. I'm going to call on each member just to make sure that they can hear and be heard. Lynn Griesmer,
Present.
Pat DeAngelis,
Present.
and I am Anna, and I am also present. All right, great. So, in terms of our agenda today, we are going to move through in a little bit of a gobbled order because of our special guests that we have joining us today. So, we will start with the resolution in support of the Town of Amherst Community Heart and Soul Project. Then we will be joined by Andy Samberg. Andy Samberg. Oh my God, I've been listening to so many Lonely Island podcasts recently that I am just wishful thinking. Okay, not that Andy Steinberg is not just as exciting and funny as Andy Samberg, but Andy Steinberg will be joining us from TSO to talk about two of the policies that we've been working on from them. And then we'll move on to everything else. So I would like to welcome Pamela to our meeting, Pamela Young, who is our Director of DEI. Pamela, can you hear us and can we hear you?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you very much. So I will pull up the initial memo that was in your packet. Also in the packet was added a bit late because I had to go through it. I added a marked up version for us to review. But Pamela, do you want to start by just giving us a little bit of information about the Heart and Soul Project and why this resolution?
All right, I'm going to give you a little bit of a timeline because we are really like 4 years into the process that's culminating in this resolution. So in 2021, as you know, the Community Safety Working Group issued a report, and part of that report was to call for the town to do liberatory visioning. When I started my job in 2023, we hired Dr. Love to begin liberatory visioning by training facilitators. And then in 23 and 24, those facilitators have been engaging in community dialogues and community workshops. And this past year in 2024-25, we completed the liberatory visioning report from Dr. Love, and that included over 15 sessions among community members at the Banks Center and the high schools, at various faith organizations. And the whole purpose of the liberatory visioning was really to answer the question, what would an equitable, just, and inclusive Amherst look like? So we finished that process. And so the next logical step is to take the results of those report and figure out how can we continue the work that was called for in the community's safety working group. Um, and Philip and I have been researching and trying to figure out what would be next logical steps. And we stumbled across Heart and Soul Foundation. The Heart and Soul Foundation is the brainchild and heart of Lyman Orton. He is the founder of the foundation and the proprietor of the Vermont Country Store. So he's founded this. The basic premise is that small towns have a heart and soul, and if you can include everyone in discussions about what the heart and soul of the community is, you will have more inclusive governments, you will have better decision making. And so he's funded small towns around the country. I think there are two in Massachusetts to begin this process. It's a 2-year commitment. They provide a coach, and I think what is attractive to me is that there's a structure, and the structure is over the 2-year period where we're provided this professional coach. We're actually establishing what I will call like a nonprofit or some sort of quasi organization outside of town government that will create a committee called the Heart and Soul Committee, and their goal will be to engage the community around what is it that we really love about Amherst. How can we make sure that this vision that started with liberatory visioning comes to fruition? Um, so that's sort of a brief overview.
Lynn?
I may have to save my question for the council meeting because it's really not about clear, consistent, and actionable, although it kind of ekes into the actionable. And that is it required that you found a new nonprofit, or can you use an existing one?
No, it can be an existing nonprofit. So what we would hope to do with the DEI office is we're actually serving sort of as the convener during this 2-year period. And we are hoping to engage community partners. We've already started sort of having some on the side conversations with folks who would be interested in supporting this. And our goal is really to deliver it to whatever organization or nonprofit or group of individuals who want to take it on. But we have what I think, as I said before, what I think is really important is that there's a structure right involved that allows us to sort of piece by piece work the program. One of the requirements of the program is that we hire a part-time administrator, and we are looking to funding from the Mindy Dom earmarks to fund that position. So it'd be part-time, non-benefited, and the sole purpose of that position is to really support this work. So the goal is to hand off a fully fledged, whatever it is, new nonprofit coalition, however it develops over the 2-year time frame.
Mhm. That's helpful. How much do you see the grant bringing in? And
I think you should save those questions,
yeah,
Lynn.
I'm gonna have to save them. You're right. And Pamela, I'm gonna send you questions, okay?
Okay.
So that you're not caught off guard at the council meeting, but I think it's gonna be important that you're there for the 20th. Okay? Thank you.
So on the 20th of, it's the 20th of November, I will
October.
not.
October.
Oh, October. Okay. All right. I will be here.
We're trying to move you through quick. All right, so I'm going to pull up my edits on this if that's okay with folks to work from those, because I tried to pull this into a form that, or into the format that we typically do. It came to us as a memo, and so I pulled it over and spent some time reformatting it and doing some light edits. I really didn't get into the paragraphs though, so I was kind of just focusing on formatting in this version. Because I spent so much time on it and because we didn't have a council sponsor, I added myself as the council sponsor for this. I had a question for the committee, which is how to reflect if we should always, in the past, we have written community sponsor and then listed town departments, but I wasn't sure if this committee wanted to think about a different way to reflect, committee sponsorship and put the office. Pamela, if you don't think that's necessary and that this should really just come from the council and not from the office, that's fine as well. Lynn?
I'm wondering if the town council needs to be the sponsor based on the fact that it's coming to the council for a vote and it's related to a grant.
I
fully appreciating what you've done, Anna.
It's not that. It's that any resolution that is passed by the council is an opinion of the council.
Right.
So by virtue of the vote, that is the council signing off.
Okay.
If other individuals want to sign on, that's fine, but we've never, the vote is the sign off, not the sponsorship.
Okay.
I
mean, I'm glad to be a sponsor. I don't need to be.
Great. Oh my gosh, why isn't shipping? Sorry.
I do think that the DEI department should be sponsored, listed as a sponsor.
I agree, Pat. I just didn't know if it should still just say community sponsor, if there was a different.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
My God.
Okay, it's
like one letter off on my entire keyboard.
There we go.
All right. So then, sorry, give me a moment. My screen is too big. Yes, Pat.
I was just going to say, looking down the thing, I believe, I could be wrong, honestly, so that after whereas we have a comma, not a colon, or semicolon, I can't tell which it is. So it's whereas, comma, the town of Amherst.
Yeah, I had pulled up another one to check that, and I think I had a semicolon. So let me look at it. Too bad.
I could be wrong, honest.
No, I don't think that you're wrong. I think it's just, I think that we've been inconsistent. I've
I-
been inconsistent.
I think we have been inconsistent.
Yeah. So that's not you. Which do you like better? Yeah, no, okay. Strong feelings. Let's see.
We
I-
need Rebecca here for that.
I always look back at the Pride Proclamation just because it's my favorite one. That one we used a semicolon.
Wow, okay.
But
It's
if you,
fine.
yeah, okay.
That's handy.
So I added the ands, I bolded the whereases. Let's go through line by line. When we get to the end, I do want to talk about my edits because I think those are a bit more hefty. So let's get into the first piece here. Any issues with the first whereas? I'm just gonna I like an Oxford comma. Okay. Second whereas.
No, fine.
Third whereas. Okay, my only issue, okay, I'm gonna channel Counselor Ate here. We could just say seeks to engage, because it is not a guarantee that they will engage
Yeah.
every single member.
Yeah, I think that's a
Um,
good idea.
Do we want? I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Well,
Lynn.
No, did you want to say will seek to engage or seeks to engage?
I think that the
Good.
process already
That's
exists.
fine.
Yeah, all right. I just had a question about this one of, not that these are all great things, but I'm curious how these three things came to be in terms of mirroring the desires of town leadership. So I understand that these are the guiding principles of community heart and soul, but I'm curious about how those mirror the desires of town leadership and where that reflection came from. That was not clear to me.
So I did not draft this resolution, and so I'm speaking for the town manager here.
Totally fine.
Right. So I believe that it's a reflection of just the general belief of the town that these principles are important to town council and to town governance, right? To
Mhm.
have full engagement of the community. And I'm squinting because I have.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can zoom in.
And no, that's all right. To focus on what matters and to play the long game. I mean, those are certainly not, I would say, the language that the town council would use, but I do think it is a reflection on the need to like set priorities, right? To focus on what matters. And I actually like play the long game because I don't think often enough that sort of conversation is had, right? We have to think about how the impacts of our decisions will play out long term and not simply, fix the immediate question. So, yeah.
Thank you. Lynn?
Yeah. Do they need to be capitalized? Are these activities that the grant has named in them?
They are the three guiding principles
Okay.
in the grant. So I think that's
Okay.
why they're
Then-
capitalized. Yeah.
That's fine.
What if
maybe-
what if we say, so if we could say the three guiding principles and then comma, involve everyone, focus on what matters, play the long game,
Mhm.
reflect shared desires of town leadership when considering future initiatives, and kind of just flip it so that it's not a direct mirror.
Mhm.
Does that sound okay to folks? Okay.
I think that's perfect. Yeah.
Oh wait, I messed it up, sorry.
It'll be very interesting to see whether we can ever get to any agreement on what matters or
And now I actually, well, this will be in it. You're going to need to probably provide more detail about what those mean.
would you like to do that
In the
now?
presentation.
In the
Right.
presentation.
Okay.
I
Right.
don't, again, is that clear, consistent, and actionable? In many ways, it is clear. It's the clarity of it. What do those mean?
Um, so next one, whereas after determining what matters most to residents, Community Heart and Soul distills this down into heart and soul statements that provide guidance for future decisions.
That's fine.
Whereas the town leaders value involvement from a broad cross section of residents that will result in a better blueprint for the town. Okay, so this is where I did some shifting. And the reason why I did some shifting is that by their nature, resolutions, proclamations, and and citations are not policy directives. And the way that this initially read was, therefore be it resolved that the town will provide support to the Community Heart and Soul Project, including but not limited to staff support, blah, 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 blah. And while we can reflect support for initiatives in a proclamation, we cannot state that we will provide resources. And so I hope that I kept the intent of this while changing the language to be actionable, basically, which is that non-actionable, that we cannot say we will do something in a resolution. It is non-binding by definition. So I shifted it to be, now therefore, we, the Amherst Town Council, do hereby resolve to support the provision of resources by the town of Amherst to the Community Heart and Soul Project, including but not limited to staff support, et cetera, et cetera. So this language is saying, we support the idea that we will provide resources, not we will provide resources. I think I threaded that needle, but I'm open to thoughts if I missed it.
May I interject?
Yes, please, please.
So the town manager was provided a sample resolution. I'm not 100% convinced that the language has to mirror the sample resolution or draft resolution perfectly. And when I read this last section, I found it really odd because you wouldn't normally list the type of support that you would provide. But so I think a more broad general statement would suffice. We've been asked by the Hearton Foundation to show proof of support from our town leadership, and that's the purpose of seeking the resolution. I'm not sure it has to be that detailed.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Pat.
No, I was just gonna say that makes sense.
It does. And I looked at their website too, Pamela, because I had a similar question of, I didn't think Paul had drafted this from scratch. I was pretty sure it came from something. Yeah, what they had written on their website was, it is important for community leaders to be engaged in community heart and soul. Applicants are expected to secure commitment from the local governing body via an official resolution. For community heart and soul to be most effective, it needs bottom up and top down engagement. So I think it's really just like we are committed to and I hope that this still does that without exactly those words that aren't according to our processes. Pat. Sorry, I saw you like waiting. Go ahead.
I don't think I really have anything valuable to say, but it doesn't seem, I've never seen us list that we were going to provide space and assistance and disseminating information. We do those things, but we've never listed them. And so I don't know whether we need them or not, or whether I want this idea to be supported, however the grantor needs it to be, and that may be what it needs, but it's just unusual. So the simple one, I think I agree with Pamela, the simple one is perhaps enough.
So it would look like this. I think we could also
To
just say,
provide support.
right, I think we could say, support,
You hear about this all the,
couldn't we just say support the Community Heart and Soul Project including the provision of necessary resources?
Sure.
Because I mean, Lynn, it sounds like you think that this will not go through on consent and it will require discussion. My worry sometimes when we get into the nitty gritty of discussion of resolutions and proclamations at the council is, will people read this last part as a guarantee that we are going to provide every resource asked for? And which may or may not be possible. So I just want to make sure that we're not over promising and under delivering on something.
My questions will cause it to will cause the questions I'll be sending Pam will cause it to be taken off of any
Sure.
concern.
Sure. Do we worry that this statement is clear that we're supporting provision of resources? It's not, that it's not a guarantee.
I, um,
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's not funny.
This is the, I know.
I think it actually states we will provide them. So, that's where I think the council may have some questions.
Would it be better to list them then? I'm going backwards now, but what we are providing. I think that for a lot of people, including
Such as,
provision of resources such as staff support, meeting space, go back into that list and keep, because, yeah. I don't need another whole group of people saying you promised this and you promised that and you, yeah. And I'm hearing, Pamela, from what you're saying, that the position, the person to be hired would be grant funded.
Correct.
Because that certainly would be a real difficult thing right now, I think.
Yeah, that's true. It would be grant funded. So I can go over over a bit of the earmark funding available if you'd like me to.
What if we
Sure.
add in this? What was including consideration of necessary provision of resources?
Yeah,
Just so,
we're just dancing around the issue that there's.
yeah.
I think this still says the same thing. I think that we either need to say we do support the project or
Well, I think we do support this, and we're going to include certain resources such as staff support. I mean, we list staff, we ask staff support, meeting space, dissemination of information. I think those are things that the town does.
but we can't guarantee those through a resolution. That's my concern. So here's let me try to reframe this. My
Yeah,
concern
thank you.
is this is going to come to the council and a counselor is going to not understand our intent in saying this last part of the sentence and say, you are guaranteeing dollar amounts or time, talent, treasure, right? Through a proclamation or resolution, which you cannot do. So my concern is even though these are not budget items in and of themselves, they are staff time especially, and dissemination of information includes staff time. We are utilizing time of staff, therefore budget dollars for a resolution, in a resolution, which we cannot do.
Mhm.
So that I'm trying to figure out how to say we are supporting this and we will seek to provide or something like that without saying we will
Yeah.
provide this, if that makes sense, because I
Yeah,
think that's
do
going to
hereby
flag it.
resolve to support the Community Heart and Soul Project.
I think the simple, if I can inject, I think the simple statement is all that you need. I don't think you need to list out what the provision of the support will be.
In the resolution, yeah.
No.
So I think then we can change this to be I'm gonna throw a loop here. I think that that would make this now a proclamation, and we say, now therefore, we, the Amherst Town Council, do hereby proclaim our support for the community heart and
Oh.
soul. Does that feel better? Does it, hang on, I'm going back. We can leave it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I just know that in all of the conversations, it's always been talked about a resolution.
Yeah, I just looked at their website and they use the word resolution, so let's just keep it.
Yeah,
Um,
did you hereby resolve to
Could
provide?
say proclaim and resolve, and that would,
That's okay. I think it's
That-
fine like that. I think it's good. I think it's good. Do hereby resolve to support the community heart and soul project. I want to like add
Period.
here. Okay, done. Fine. Okay, done.
You're gonna take out, oh, I see. Okay, I'm
Still
sorry.
crossed out. I'm
Ignore
sorry. I
me,
just
ignore me.
um
There is an attendee. Andy Steinberg is in
Andy,
the audience. Yeah,
thank you so much. We are going to get to him in one moment.
yeah.
All right. So you see how it's going to look when it's edited, the crossouts there.
Yeah.
Are there any other, and then I added in this because it will go to the council on the 20th. Hopefully that's when it's passed. Are there any other concerns before I hear a motion to find this resolution clear, consistent, and actionable?
Yeah, it's not clear that Amherst has a heart and soul, but anyway.
Thank you, Pat, for that insight. Is there a motion to find the resolution in support of Town of Amherst Community Heart and Soul Project?
So
clear?
moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second,
Thank you. I'm going to call the vote. Pat?
Aye.
I am an aye. Lynn?
aye.
Perfect. This is going to go to the council for, I believe, the 20th. And Pamela, we hope to see you there. And thank you very, very much for your work and support of this project.
And many other things, my friend.
The other things,
Thank
that's
you.
true.
Thank you.
Thank you
you.
very much. Have a lovely rest of your evening.
thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. All right, folks, let's move right along. We are going to bring in Andy Steinberg, and I'm going to tell him about my funny mix-up. And then we're going to talk about the proposed changes to the Public Ways Policy and the Transportation Advisory Commission charge. So let me pull those up. Okay. Hi, Andy.
Hello,
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Long day, but I'm doing well.
I will tell you that earlier today I called you Andy Samberg, who is an SNL actor, so I am also having a long day. But I'm equally as excited to see you here. All right. So let's start with the charge, if that's okay. And I'm going to pull it up. And Andy, if you could just to refresh folks' memories, we've gone back and forth on this with the charge for the Transportation and Parking Commission, as well as the changes to the public way policy. I'm starting with this charge because I think this will go faster. Most of the questions were arising around the changes to the public way. So we'll start with this. Hopefully we breeze through it. And when GOL reviewed it before, we had a lot of questions that seemed more appropriate for TSO. They really weren't actionability, clarity, consistency, actionability. So we asked TSO to take a second look at KP Law's comments and then get back to us. And so TSO was able to do that. And now they are getting back to us. So Andy, if you could start us off with the charge, in terms of what TSO discussed and any changes that were made. And this is, I hope, the right document that I pulled up from TSO sent back to me.
I think that the charge is pretty straightforward because the only thing that came up was the recommendation. The only new thing was the recommendation, as I recall, on the first, just changing the language on counselors that you had handled, that we
Yeah.
with all of your other changes.
I do think this one was pretty much set. So let me pull up the other one. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think we did on the qualifications for the community members, we wanted to make it more vague. That was the other charge. the other change.
Yeah, we had wanted to, but I think we could do that without TSO. It was more of if they happened to, we had added in or other relevant areas.
Mhm.
Yeah, you did, and that was not in any way objectionable. And so we just assumed that you had adopted we're proposing that change and it essentially adopted, even though you didn't vote. And
That is true.
so I think that where we are is that we're in total agreement with you on the charge now, because those were the only two things that I think came up.
Perfect. So then let's talk about the actual policy. So this is the draft that, or this is the version that TSO discussed and came back to us. And so Andy, do you want to talk us through this piece?
Yeah, I think that there's an important part because there's actually only a couple of things that are really significant in changes. But the biggest problem that we have, and Lynn and I have talked about this some, and actually I've thought about it, Lynn, since we had that last exchange, and that is that the utility hearings, or what we frequently call poll hearings, is in electric and telephone polls, that the proposal had been that the hearing would be given over to the TPC, and the TPC would report the results of the hearing, and it would come back to the council. Then, as we continued that discussion, after a considerable period of time, we became concerned that there were some problems with that, and Athena made several points that were important. If the hearing is before the TPC, and there's no witness then before the council, but the decision has to be made before the council. If the council has any questions that they would like to ask, how do they go back and ask the utility company who's put in the request to come back to a separate body? Does that make sense? And the point that Athena was making was that at times these things are really have a time deadline, or have a desired time deadline, because like in a recent one, a homeowner was trying to make changes to their home, and the utility changes were to allow that homeowner to do what they wanted to do, and that were creating delays in the process. So we got into a discussion towards the end of a very long meeting about should we be even doing that? Should we have the poll hearings or utility hearings actually take place as they are now, and not make that change, not make that assignment? And then the question comes up as to what changes we would need to make to the policy to do that. And when Lynn and I talked about it, and she weighed in, and she's here obviously, the question came up as to whether it would be better to try and get direction from the council as quickly as possible, and then just let the council make the decision as to whether it wants to continue to do the hearings, or whether it wants to stay with the plan as now provided. And I'll explain then a little bit more, but I thought that was the place to start. Lynn, do you have anything to add?
No, you've described the dilemma. I think what it's saying to me more and more, I think we need to just keep these hearings in the council.
And I think that the problem that we came up with in talking, and when I was talking with George about it this afternoon, is to decide what we were going to do this evening. George was pointing out that a lot of the provisions in the policy that is proposed by KP Law don't make sense if the TPC is not holding any formal hearings. Because if it's not holding hearings, then there's sections in here that really are not applicable. And that then got to a question as to whether there are any other sections, any other topics that TPC would ever have to hold hearings about. And another question, and I was going to ask Athena this, but didn't get an opportunity to talk to her about it, was if they're calling something a hearing, but it's really just a matter of having a public forum to invite the public in to listen about it. Is that really a public hearing that has to follow all of these rules? And should we call it something else besides a hearing under those circumstances? Because that might take care of it. I think it's your hand up.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to Athena, and then I just have a centering question. So Athena, go ahead.
I think if you call something a hearing, you should follow the procedures for a hearing. And in the past, when we've had what you described as a listening session or something like that, we've called it a listening session. We've called it something else so that there's not confusion about what process needs to happen and what boxes need to be ticked in order to get through that process.
So I want to keep us on the clarity, consistency, and actionability so track that we're supposed to be on. And so I kind of have two questions, Andy. It sounds like the decision as to whether the council should keep those hearings or whether they should be in the TPC. Are you hoping that that will be a discussion that the council has, and therefore should we somehow have a draft go to the council before it's reviewed for clarity, consistency, and actionability so that the council can decide one way or another? Or is TSO wanting to make that recommendation one way or another and finish the policy and have it go to council? That's question one. Question two is one of the main reasons GOL sent this back is that KP Law went above and beyond in their review and included review of a whole lot of other things in here that are not TPC related. And so I just wanted to make sure that TSO had had a chance to review all of the KP Law's comments so that as we were going through, the substantive changes that they discussed were discussed in TSO.
They were, and I think that as we went through them, we did not have problems with most of the changes that KP Law was suggesting. And what we realized that was probably going on here is this was very early on. You know, the original policy was drafted and adopted very early in the council, in the first council, first 3 years of the council. And we hadn't perfected our systems well, and it may not have been reviewed by KP Law at the time, so that this may be so that when they saw it, they were all of a sudden looking at a policy that they had never been involved with.
Yeah.
And that was why a lot of this is in here. So you've got a very perfect one right in the middle of your screen. The right to revise, rescind, or deviate is belonging to the town council. Well, we thought, and I bring this up as an example because it's so easy. The answer is, of course. The council, I think, just always assumed it had the right to make changes because it was adopting a policy. You can change a policy, but to have it stated up front in the policy the way it is, the way that they suggest, is an extra piece of clarity that we had no problem with whatsoever. Think it was really a good idea. So there were a lot of things that they suggested that are along those lines. The two areas where we had problems with the most was the questions having to do with public hearing, which is why if there's not going to be utility hearings, and we set it up so now that Athena's offered her advice on the topic, that you don't have anything else that is a form, has to be called a hearing and can be called something else. You may not need those sections because you're not really expecting the TPC to hold something that is a formal, required by law formal hearing. And so that was one problem. The other was the whole thing with the Board of License Commissioners, and putting the Board of License Commissioners in there and putting a lot of procedural requirements on a board that really only has one function in the public ways, and that is when they want to allow a food truck to be on the public way. And that's a small piece of what they do, but to the extent of the requirements that they're putting on the Board of License Commissioners, therefore didn't seem like it made sense.
So, Andy, is GOL safe to presume that every edit on this, in this document, has been approved, for lack of a better word, by TSO and is being recommended by TSO?
The ones where we had comments, I think, are in comment boxes that have Athena's name because she was our note taker through the process.
So I'm trying to figure out what GOL's responsibility is here and what TSO's responsibility is. And so if things are not resolved by TSO, is it GOL's responsibility or is it TSO's? And so, for example, you know, the question, why is the BLC included here but not in all subsections? Is that a thing that TSO wants the BLC in every other subsection, or is that a consistency question? You know, I think that's similarly like the need for monthly reports. That's not necessarily a clarity, consistency, or actionability. That's a preference. And that would be, in my mind, a TSO question. So I'm trying to figure out whether am I to interpret that all of the questions on the side here are things that TSO believed are GOL's responsibility to answer? And if the answer is yes, we'll tackle them, but I just want to make sure that we're not straying beyond our mission here, which is clarity, consistency, and actionability, and into content. And some of these do feel content-based, but maybe I'm being too sensitive to that.
Yeah, I don't know that we really, as big a problem as because the Board of License Commissioners, I think somebody needs to go through that and see where it makes sense that the Board of License Commissioners is mentioned and required to do things. And I think that if you tell us that we should do it, well, I'll go back and do it. I have it on the agenda for our meeting on Thursday so that we could come back to this policy. we can do that. But if your preference is that it's not clear why the Board of License Commissioners is being given these responsibilities when they have such a small role in the public way administration, that we could handle it, you could handle it. I think it could go to either group.
I think so too, and that's what I'm trying to, when we say somebody should review, that's the question. We need to answer the question today of who that person will be. And I think for me, reviewing the GOL charge, it's talking about review and make recommendations to the town council on measures, including bylaws, committee charges, resolutions, etc., proposed for action for form, content, and organization to assure they're clear, consistent, and actionable. So my worry is if that we stray beyond that, and that we lack the context that TSO has in being able to ask. TSO asked these questions initially and had discussion on this, and so we continue to go back and forth, and you have to keep coming to our meetings, but we still don't have the full context on this that TSO has. So I think what I wish could happen, what I wish would have happened, is that TSO would have accepted the changes that they want, and not, so that we are looking at a cleaner document that's coming to us, and reviewing it for clarity, consistency, and actionability. I think at this point, there's so many questions in here that KP Law asked, and I personally feel that TSO should be the body to say, we like this, we don't like this, and GOL, is this all good from your end, in terms of clear, consistent, and actionable? I want to pause before I go to Lynn and just make sure, Councilor Ate, thank you so much for joining us. Can we just check to make sure we can hear you and you can hear us?
I can hear you.
Thank you. And Councilor Ate, we are reviewing the changes to the public ways policy, in case that wasn't clear from what's on your screen. Lynn?
So let me step back and say, if we were going to do a very significant review of our public way policy, it would be referred to TSO. And therefore, whether or not TSO wanted this to happen, what happened is the attorney did a thorough review and it came back to TSO, and it should go back to TSO because, again, they're the committee that would have formulated the public way policy. And they're the committee, I think, that has done this. Having said that, I'm not sure where we did the public way policy. Maybe GOL did do it. I have no idea. But it is getting, because this came back and addressed more than the changes necessary for the creation of the Transportation and Parking Commission. I believe we've been stuck in this passing back and forth because of that issue.
So we've got 2 courses of action, and I would like the committee members to think about which they would prefer. And I want to make sure that everyone is clear on what the courses of action are. Option 1, we as GOL go through this policy and accept or reject the changes that are proposed by KP Law and by TSO and by ourselves, as well as review the content for clarity, consistency, and actionability. Option 2 is we send this back to TSO again to review at their meeting on Thursday. And what we are asking for from TSO is that when this document is sent back to GOL, changes are accepted, comments are resolved, so that we are just reviewing what they would like to send to council. We are reviewing for clarity, consistency, and actionability. Normally, we look at a track changes version because we're only considering a small piece and we just are looking for context. But the reality at this point is that this whole document has been changed in so many ways that we need TSO to resolve that. Like, we need TSO to resolve the remaining questions and send to us what they would like the council to review, so that we are just the final filter and not a full content review body. If that make sense. So I'm curious to hear from Pat, Lynn, Counselor Ette, which course of action you feel is more appropriate in this moment. We go through this and we decide yes or no, which we've in the past said we didn't want to do. But TSO is saying my understanding is that TSO is saying they're good with these, even though there's still questions, which I'm still a little stuck on, Andy. But we clean it up and send it to the council, or we go back to TSO and say, you need to decide if you're keeping or getting rid of the lawyer's comments, and how you're answering some of these questions, and then get it back to us. Lynn, Counselor Ette, Pat, what are your thoughts?
I think it should go back to TSO.
Lynn?
I understand the conundrum, but the fact that they have been discussing transportation and parking, and they basically do take up public way issues like Heatherstone, et cetera. It seems to me that the policy should go back to them.
Counselor Ette?
I'll refrain from any suggestion given how late I am, but
Understand.
yeah.
I understand. I think my thought is I don't know that, given that this has gone back and forth, and Andy, I would love to hear your thoughts in a second, but I think given that this has gone back and forth, I feel like I don't think I've done it with this committee, and so I'd like to just make sure that if we're asking Andy, if we're asking your committee to look at it again, that we're really clear on how we would like it to come back to us. And so I want to make sure that the committee is in agreement with what I'm saying, which is that when this comes back to us, when the public ways policy specifically comes back to us, we would like TSO to have resolved, either agreed or rejected with the comments and questions by the town committee, and have answered the questions that they themselves posed, such as, should the BLC be only here or should it be everywhere? We would like TSO to have resolved that. And what we have in front of us is a policy that we are reviewing much more simply for clarity, consistency, and actionability, and not looking at these additions of content as to whether or not to include them, but for clarity, consistency. Andy, what are your thoughts?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My internet may
Yeah,
have
I
logged
just
out.
was. I mean, I think we can do that. It might make sense, and I might make sense for us to come back to you next time with a clean copy and not all of these changes in comment boxes, because it gets so confusing to look at it and see where each change came in, because some of them have George Ryan's name by them, some of them are KP Laws, some of them are mine, some of them are yours. Would you like to see just a clean copy of what we come up with?
I would like to see the clean copy of what you come up with, but I think Lynn was talking about this broader question of when who does the hearings, and I think those questions may end up at the council to decide, but I think it needs to be clear in this policy that TSO is stating that it believes it should be this way. And so I don't want those questions to be lingering when it comes to GOL. So it is a little bit about the clean copy, but it's more about some of the questions that have come up and TSO having those discussions, not GOL. Okay, so
That makes sense. Because I raised that actually with George earlier today as to whether we should just ask on Thursday whether the TSO committee wants to propose a change in the whole thing with having the hearings done by TPC for utilities. And if we got that question resolved, and I think that the tendency was at the last meeting, I wasn't happy with the end result. I think when I tell you why, you probably will agree. But, you know, basically the feeling was, well, we should just send it to town council and let's leave it the way it is until town council tells us to change it. And I think it just a clean decision and would make more sense.
Yeah, I think that I guess this is my opinion, is that the job of the committee is to send the version that the committee believes is correct, and that the town council then could say, no, we don't agree, come back with something different, versus kind of sending an option that has the decision yet to be made, if I'm understanding you correctly. Lynn? You're muted.
I think it's very important that we separate this. There were the one decision, Andy, that we discussed that the council needs to make is whether they're going to keep the poll hearings themselves or they're going to designate them to the committee. That's one piece of this revision. But then there's a whole lot else in this revision. And if you want the council to weigh in on that, then it needs to be clear what the options are. And I can understand your frustration because I'm feeling this frustration now myself. Coming to the council with this written so that the poll hearings would actually be done by the way we discussed it. So if the poll hearings were done by the TPC and the council said, you know, I can see some real flaws in that. What we discussed was the possibility that between the first and the second reading, those sections of this policy could be changed to be consistent with the poll hearings staying with the council. But there's more in here, like the Board of License Commissioner stuff and so forth, that it needs to be reviewed at some level in a committee before the council is asked to look at it.
All right, so it sounds like, I'm not going to take an official vote on this, but it sounds like, Andy, GOL is asking for TSO to take a look at this again and resolve some of these comments, and put in what the committee thinks is best. And GOL's job is not to look at whether or not we agree with that decision. We are just to look at whether or not that decision is clear, consistent, and actionable, and then the council can fight it out. But I do think that and I think it's evident by this conversation, we've tiptoed a whole lot around actual content and sometimes stepped, I think, a little bit in it in this discussion. So I think that in order for this committee to be able to do the review for clarity, consistency, and actionability, we need TSO to review this and decide how they want this to look when it goes to the council, and just leave the last little polishing to us instead of any sort of substantive decision. Is that something that TSO can do? You said it was on your agenda for Thursday. Is that something you can do?
I think that the committee can do it. And I'm thinking of one other problem, and this is one that if we want to get this done before the council term expires, we need to make sure that we have time for 2 readings, and so that we can get to a final vote. And I know that our town manager would like that result too. And the best way to assure that we get that done would be to have the TSO do it, but to stay consistent with what, to the most extent with what KP Law recommended, because we don't want to send it back to KP Law if we don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And so which gets into, if we're clear, and you know, Athena's given us advice on the topic, that we can eliminate public hearing altogether from a responsibility of either group under this policy, then we can actually remove a bunch of things that they recommended that have to do with hearings. And I think that will make it easier to read, easier to deal with, and we have a chance of getting it done.
All right, let's go for that. TSO did have to add a second meeting, or a special meeting, an additional meeting. Let me phrase this all correctly. We did have to add an additional meeting for October 21st. So if TSO can review this on Thursday and get it back to us, I will post it in the packet as soon as I get it. And we will put it on the agenda for the 21st as well.
31st of this month.
Oh yeah.
I'll see what I can do.
The only other option is the 28th. But we've got a couple other things that day. So either one would get it back to the council for the 4th of November, which is the council meeting following this coming one. So either, I guess, if it's not done in one TSO meeting, if you happen to be having another TSO meeting prior to the 28th, we can wait on it until then, but I don't think that you are if you're doing the normal meeting schedule. So that would be
We may need to think about whether we can get an extra meeting in. Also, I did send you an email on a different subject late this afternoon after we settled about tonight, and that was the public urination defecation policy bylaw.
Yes.
And that's a pretty simple question.
I saw your email come in. I didn't understand your question. You said you can't, but we can talk about this later, Andy. The plan
Yeah, we
is
will.
to put that on the agenda for I have it currently for the 28th, but because it's not on our agenda, I don't want to talk quite about it yet. Athena?
Yeah, I think this is under future agendas, but I spoke with Chief Ting about it, and he asked that if GOL members have questions about what KP Law wrote, he's okay with what KP Law wrote. And if GOL members have questions about that, to please send them to me so I can get them to Chief Ting ahead of your meeting on the 28th. And then if Andy, you wanted to attend that meeting for both the TBC charge and the public waste policy and public urination, you can share what TSO spoke about at that meeting.
Yeah, and if you go back to the email that Athena sent, which had KP Law's opinion just as a piece of her email, it was earlier this month. I gave you the date, and you look, and it was sent to the entire committee, your entire committee and our entire committee. And if you see what she suggested in alternate language, that's the subject.
I am I'm familiar with the alternate language, and I know that I will have plenty of questions on that topic. And so I'm looking forward to the discussion. So it sounds like, Athena, what you were saying, Chief Ting is able to come on the 28th, so I'll do some agenda shuffling, I think, so that Andy doesn't have to come to every single GOL meeting for the next 3 weeks. And we'll plan to take this up again, both transportation and parking charge and the public waste policy, as well as public urination on the 28th. And yeah, Andy, does that sound good to you?
Yes, and if you want to call me and say what your reservations are, do that as offline.
Sure. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I'm just checking in with myself to see if they are general concerns or clarity, consistency, and actionability, but I will certainly happy to talk with you about them ahead of time. All right. Andy, thank you very much. And please let me know or send me what TSO ultimately decides on with the document. I believe you, I can send this to you if you don't have it, but you sent it to me, so you must have it. So the marked up version we were looking at today, and we will look forward to seeing the decided upon TSO version for our next meeting. Or
So
for, on the 28th, I'm sorry.
it just led for, so I understand you would like to have both, have us work off of this copy with additional changes and then and send a clean copy too.
Yes, I'd like you to work off of that copy, resolving the changes and answering the questions within the document, right? To the best of your ability, so that what we are looking at is what you think is ready to send to council, and we are just doing the fine tooth comb review.
Yeah, I think that we answered the questions that Attorney Goldberg had asked, and that was done, and that's actually incorporated in what we sent, what Athena sent back. But it is very confusing because of the way that things are just getting pasted on top of each other.
And there's a number of questions remaining on the side. And I think
Those
that,
are the ones that I was referring to. They
yeah,
were
so
fairly straightforward.
I
Actually.
understand, but it is not GOL's responsibility to answer those or to resolve them. And so I just want to make sure that what GOL is reviewing is essentially what TSO believes the council should be seeing. And we're just that final filter. Lynn?
Yeah, Andy, for the purposes of the big question that still is out there, and that is whether or not the council keeps poll hearings or the new group does them, would you just highlight those areas that would be eliminated if the council decides to keep poll hearings? Just highlight them in yellow or do something so that when we actually do this and we send it on to the council, we can, between first and second reading, remove those areas if we have to.
Lynn, I think it would best be served if that were done as a separate copy of this, because
that's fine.
it wouldn't be in its final form as per the rules. So if we could do that, that'd be great.
Okay.
Okay, Andy, thank you very much. I hope,
Okay.
let me know if you have any follow-up questions on that. But I look forward to talking again with you soon.
Yeah, and if, as I said, if you have things that you want to talk about regarding the other
I
bylaw,
have so many
Let's-
thoughts about
yeah,
peeing
let's
outside, but
move
we'll talk
on.
later. Pat,
No, I
hear-
just want us to move on, not
I heard you the
us
first time you said
continue to
it.
discuss something.
got it.
I heard you the first
Please.
time you said it. Thank you. Andy, thank you very much, and I will talk to you about it later.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you, Andy.
All right, so we are going to move on in our agenda. I will remind members, please raise your hands. We are going to move on to the higher education proclamation that was sent to us, and let me pull it up. Give me a moment. All right. I've downloaded too many things today. It's not showing up here. The downloads folder is a nightmare of a place. All right. So, is everybody having a good day?
Well, I'm listed as the sponsor.
Great. Pat, would you like to introduce it to us while I find it?
Well, I don't, I was contacted by Ian Rodwell, and I said that I would sponsor it, but I needed him to pull it together and put it together because I was going on vacation. Lynn actually pulled it together the other day, so I'm a little frustrated, but I think what it's basically saying is we need to say to our state representatives, et cetera, that we want $200 million to come into the universities, the public colleges and the community colleges. So I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you.
That's it. That's good. And I've got it pulled up. I'm just gonna say I had to copy it over because it was in a funky file format.
Yeah, so thanks, Lynn.
All right.
You put your name on it. Counselor Ette, you seem very quiet. Are you okay?
I am just reading through the resolution.
All right.
Yeah, now see, Lynn and I have commas on this one. So if we're gonna be consistent about, I prefer commas, but be after whereas.
Yep. Well, let me just, let's start at the top here.
Doesn't matter.
You said we were adding Lynn, is that Lynn or no?
Oh, she didn't
Okay.
offer that.
All right, so
Yeah, no, I want to sponsor it. That's fine. Leave my name on it.
I did leave your name on, I just kept it as your last name because that's what we typically.
Gotcha.
All right. So we've got our council sponsor, community sponsors. I will do the rest of them later, but just capitalizing those. Well, as we look at the first whereas, any discussion? All right, let's go to this. And you did not have this with commas, Pat, because I copied this exactly from the document that was in the packet. So I did not edit these out. These were semicolons.
All right, that's Lynn. Blame her.
All right. Counselor Ette, go ahead.
Just had a question on Massachusetts state universities.
Hmm.
Is that the proper form?
Yes,
know the
they
East Node-
actually are a combination of universities and colleges. There's
Okay.
9 of them. Some of them are still colleges, some of them are universities.
Right, but do we need separately then the University of Massachusetts? Because
Yes, that is a separate entity. There's
oh, it is. Oh,
there's 3 different divisions in higher ed. There's 15 community colleges.
I have to check that. My dog rarely barks.
There's 9 state universities and colleges, and then there are 5 campuses of the University of Massachusetts.
So my question, I think everyone else would be better placed to answer it. If I'm correct, this is the Commonwealth.
That's what I was like. I was like, he's gonna pick up on the word state,
But
but
that's
it
not how they use it.
they're
They
called state.
refer to it as their names will say, like Westfield State.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank
But I'm just proud of myself that I was like, I know what he's about to say. All right. Okay, second whereas public colleges and universities. I want to add a that is or which is here, but maybe it makes sense with that. I feel like it's sticking in my head, but I don't know why. No, it makes sense. Never mind. Ignore me. I read it again. Okay. Next one, whereas public colleges and universities across the state are. Whereas public education provides. Oh,
Should we go back and just continue to say public colleges and universities?
where are we?
Right, in the where it says public education.
Yes, otherwise it is at all levels.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then would it be provide? Whereas public colleges provide.
Yeah, provide.
Okay. Are conducting research and studies that benefit people all around the world. And then I'm assuming it's a legacy hand, right? Whereas public colleges and universities have a responsibility to ensure. Whereas public colleges and universities are experiencing. Whereas the federal budget under consideration is proposing. Is this talking, which federal, sorry. The federal budget under consideration. This is like an idiotic statement. Where are we in the federal budget cycle? Is there a new federal budget or is this this is the same one? Okay.
I don't know.
Why don't we say the federal budget process?
Oh, that's good.
Or let me look at this, the federal budget process
Is considering severe reductions.
includes consideration of severe reductions.
Because
Or
didn't,
the federal, how about the federal budget discussions include proposing severe reductions in funding?
because the federal budget passed, so that's why I'm confused about.
Right. I am too, I'm sorry.
You're right, the one that passed in, on
The
July.
bad bill, the big
the
bad
big
bill or
beautiful
whatever it
bill.
is. Yeah.
I believe that, that already,
Can we just,
included, cutting Pell Grants.
yeah, so can we take this out? Unless we have the actual data, hang on.
Federal budget. We should say
that
the
that's
federal
what they-
budget includes severe reductions.
Yeah, that they did, yeah.
So it's under consideration is proposing, it's federal budget includes.
And I just want to double check because I think
There's an extra space there.
I hear you. One second, sorry. Because I thought that Pell it was funky with Pell.
Really?
I know.
Sorry.
No, I know. Sorry, I'm trying to find the like. It was supposed to cut it more than it ultimately did, is my understanding. But so I just want to make sure that it still had bad cuts. Okay, so it limited eligibility. Reduce or eliminate Pell funding for 2/3 of grant recipients. Okay. So then, all right, I'm gonna leave this here then. Except that I'm going to capitalize Pell Grants because that is the title. I'm gonna just say the current. All right. Whereas Massachusetts voters approved the fair share. This should be called the fair share amendment, not the fair share surtax. Amendment or a surtax.
Yeah, that's better.
But it's just a tax. How do you define a tax versus a surtax? Sorry. Counselor Ate?
Plural incomes.
Hang on. Where are you?
A surtax
Thank you.
on incomes above.
Thank you. And I'm going to spell out 1 million, but can someone tell me the difference between a tax and a surtax?
Got me.
All right. Well,
I call it a tax. I think it's fine.
all right.
I'm gonna look it up in the dictionary.
I Googled it quickly. I am curious about the difference, but the difference was the budget office does say surtax. So I'm
Then that's,
happy
yeah,
to keep it there, but every website about it calls it a tax. So I am curious. I'll keep the 1 million too. It's fine. To generate revenue specifically for public transportation and public education and transportation. Okay. Now therefore.
a surtax is an extra tax or charge.
Okay.
And a graduated income tax in addition to the normal income tax imposed on the amount. So it is in addition to
Surtax.
whatever their state taxes would normally be.
Well, I learned something new today. The difference between a tax and a surtax. Thank you, Pat.
You're welcome. Thank Merriam-Webster.
I always do. Local heroes. All right. Now, therefore, we, the Amherst Council, resolve to voice our support. This is it. So we are resolved to support.
That's fine.
Right? Okay. Be it further resolved that the Amherst Town Council urges the state legislature to set aside 200 million for more than the 2 billion generated by the fair share.
Amendment.
Thank you. As a first step towards stabilizing public higher education funding that supports students, faculty, and staff. We need to, is it a semicolon or a period? I think it's a period.
It's period, yeah.
It is.
Be it further resolved, the Amherst Town Council urges the state legislature and governor, capitalized, to strategically increase funding for public colleges and universities to lessen their reliance on grants, privatization, and student tuition and fees. Is governor capitalized here?
Yes.
I thought, thank you. Be it further resolved that the Amherst Town Council supports Massachusetts having public colleges and universities that students can attend without incurring debt necessary to retain and attract the staff and faculty needed to maintain the quality of education our state deserves.
If you want to, you can change Commonwealth.
I was
state to
just about
Commonwealth
to
there.
ask if I could do that. Thank you. All right. We are special enough. Let's own it. Okay. Any clarity, consistency, or actionability, not substantive issues with this last one? Okay. Is there I'm going to add the word mark up here, or the seal up here, if that's okay.
Mhm.
With those edits, is there a motion to find the Town of Amherst resolution regarding increased funding for public higher education clear, consistent, and actionable?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second? Thank you. I'm going to call the vote. Counselor Ate?
Aye.
Lynn Griesmer?
Aye.
Pat DeAngelis?
Aye.
I am an aye as well. Thank you very, very
I'm a
much.
me.
What?
Nothing. I just said I'm a me.
Yeah. All right. So remaining item on our agenda, two remaining items on our agenda include the ADU zoning bylaw amendment and the town manager goals. I have, Athena, a question for you. I have the version that Pam sent, but I could not find comments from KP Law, and I just wanted to make sure I could not. I searched again, searched a lot of places,
On
but I
the
wanted,
ADU,
yeah.
let me check. I think that, oops. Yep, I'm just pulling it up. Sorry for the delay.
No worries. Thank you.
She wrote, Carolyn Murray, who's one of the attorneys, wrote, I've reviewed the proposed zoning amendment to delete the existing Article 5.011 of the town's zoning bylaws and replace it with the new 5.011 regulating In my opinion, the proposed zoning amendment is in good legal form, consistent with state law, and actionable by the town council.
Fabulous.
So I think that's all that I had sent, was that was her comment. So there wasn't like a whole
Thank you.
review
That's why.
document. So that's probably why you couldn't find it.
Well, I like this Caroline person,
Carolyn Murray, she's great.
Caroline Murray, and I appreciate her succinctness. All right. I do adore Lauren, but she goes above and beyond, man. Okay, so let's go through this. This is what we got from CRC. We do have Pat, you are on CRC, so hopefully you can clear. Counselor Arte, are you also on CRC? No, okay.
You should have been, but
Okay. Thank you.
we got the twins instead.
Hey, all right, Pat, please. I'm gonna mute you before you get yourself in more
Fine
trouble.
with me.
Oh, okay. Let's go through this for clarity, consistency, and actionability here. Starting with purpose. Oh, and so just a reminder on this, I believe, Pat, the context here is that CRC was reviewing this in light of state law necessitating changes to ADU policies in towns and cities across Massachusetts. We had to look at ours and revise it to be aligned. Is that correct?
Right, yes, that's correct. And the planning department with Rob Moore, not Rob Moore, Nate Malloy has reviewed it, and the planning board itself has reviewed it.
Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna just look at the changes so that we can look at this like they want us to look at it. I'm gonna start clarifying that people should be sending us things that are ready to go. Okay. Let's run it back. Town of Amherst permits. Oh, sorry, I guess we have to start in purpose. That would make more sense. Accessory dwelling units. Allow the town of Amherst to expand and diversify its housing supply. You all can read. I won't read it out loud, but first paragraph. Okay. Applicability. Please read it through. Sorry, I'm going to do the thing that otherwise Mandy does and catches me with, so I'm just going to make sure these are the right laws. Yeah. Okay, great. Any issues so far? A through C?
I'd accept the markups they have on it.
Oh, yeah. No, thank you.
Including the paragraph.
I did. This one?
No, up above. There's in the very, a second in.
Oh, I know. These little ones. Yeah. I
Mhm.
will definitely accept all changes before I send it to the thing. It's just sometimes they're fiddly to click on. All right. Definitions. As a non-planner person, I want to add square footage some, but I think that will eventually be obvious to people and I can let it go. Okay. Any going down to B and C? Tell me if I'm going too fast. Sorry. That's why I didn't want to do this at this point. And going down to D. Okay, any issues? All right, 5.0113, general requirements for protected use accessory dwelling units and local. I don't think we need the second four, but I think that's me being really finicky. allowed by the Department of Public Works, meaning that they would sign off on it in a planning board hearing or something like that? Oh. I don't know what that means. Like, how do they allow it? And apologies if this is just me not understanding the process.
Seems to me that if it was under some prior law, it would be allowed, but that's very sloppy language.
Are you on D?
Yeah. Oh, Pat, you're muted. I don't know if you're talking to me. I'm so sorry.
I think the idea here is that there would need to be permission granted.
Yeah,
Right. I'm not sure like what that I understand the concept of permission granted, but is that a process that like if I'm looking at this trying to build an ADU, is there a form I'm supposed to fill out? Is it just like me emailing the DPW email and saying, hey, am I allowed to do this? Or is it part of the planning process that would come up in a hearing or in a permit process?
It would come up in the permit process. It would be part of the request.
So can I say approved instead of allowed? It feels like that to me feels more formal. Pat?
well, I don't care whether we say approved or allowed, so I'm okay with that change. To, shall be permitted unless approved by the Department of Public Works.
To me, that indicates that that approval is received as part of the process versus allowed, which is just like, I don't know.
Hey, go ahead, do it.
All right, all right. I get it. You're sick of me tonight. All right.
No, I'm not,
Yep.
not yet.
You'll get there, I'm sure. Okay. Oops, unless approved. No one's caught me spelling the wrong word out. Come on,
We're
everybody.
tired, girl.
Me too. Okay. Parking plan shall be submitted to and approved by the building commissioner, shall be in accordance with the section design and landscape standards of section 7 of the zoning bylaw. If the principal dwelling or any ADU will be rented, any rental unit shall be registered and permitted in accordance with the residential rental property bylaw. Love it. Love to see it. All exterior lighting shall be designed and installed as to be shielded, downcast, and dark sky compliant to avoid light trespass onto adjacent properties. On-site storage and management of waste and recycling shall be located on the interior of the dwelling within an attached garage or other accessory outbuilding. Excuse me.
Or screened appropriately from public view.
Lynn.
I actually didn't get my, whoops, I didn't get my hand up fast enough. I really think that whenever we cite a bylaw, we should include the number.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, I think
Because those need to be checked.
It says with section
well, it was removed.
3.50, so I think that is the bylaw. You want,
It could be to try to, let's see, hang on.
I'll look.
Athena, do you have any insights into why that part was removed? Or Pat, actually, you were there, sorry.
I don't remember, I'm sorry, you're talking to a 79-year-old idiot.
I think it was probably removed in case the number changes.
That was my thought, was that it makes this
Mm.
easier to look back on year after year
Yeah.
versus having to, if anything gets shifted in numbers, having to go back.
Oh,
I do
that's right, that's right.
I get the logic of needing
Thank
to,
God for Athena.
I
Yep.
say that like 18 times a day. All right. Are we okay with it, or do we feel that we want to go back and
No.
cite this?
Nope,
Yes,
that's
I'm
fine.
okay.
That's fine.
Okay. No more than 2 on-site parking spaces provided for any ADU.
I think that's stupid because what if 3 people live in it? But
Substantive.
I know, I
I have
know.
a question. Is this per each ADU?
For any ADU, so.
Right. So if
Well,
I
it
have
would be-
2 on my property, I can have 4
4
parking spaces?
parking spaces.
Yes.
Okay.
And I will just tell you, we are going to hear from the public on
Oh,
that.
I know. To the extent feasible, a newly constructed detached ADU shall be located behind the front building line of the, sorry, come on, of the principal dwelling closest to the street. Good. What? All right. I can let it go. All right. Who determines feasibility?
Right.
And if I say it's not feasible for me personally, is it still a requirement?
Come on, let's move on.
No, that is, in my mind, that's a clarity question. I can let it go if it becomes
Oh, okay.
substantive, but I don't know what this means. Like, who determines feasibility? I know that I can be really picky about this kind of thing, so I
No,
can,
it's all right. No, I'm sorry. I'm just tired, honey.
it's fine.
So the question I think is
Uh,
whether
I think my internet lagged for a second. Counselor Ate, could you go? And then Lynn?
I was just saying you could put that comment on feasibility in your notes.
I will. I won't forget it. Thank you. Lynn?
it seems to me that that's a permitting issue. And again, it's pretty sloppy. To the extent feasible.
Well, it could be that the only place to place an ADU, whether it is protected or a local, is to the side and in front of the building. It's a possibility.
Aren't all of these permitting issues like aren't these all playing into the permit?
Yeah.
All right. I think I agree that this is sloppy, and I think that it's so variable based on the situation that I don't have better language to put in here that wouldn't accidentally mess up anyone's chances of being able to do this. So I think that unless people want to take it out fully, it's gotta, I am not clear on it, nor do I think that this is actionable. Specific requirements, and unless someone else wants to stand strongly behind that, we'll leave it in. All right. Specific requirements for protected use, accessory dwelling units. There is no minimum lot size. What is happening here? Oh, there's a comment. Oh, Nate. The more permissive, i.e. least restrictive dimensional regulations found in Article 6 of the zoning bylaw for a detached single-family dwelling, the principal dwelling or an accessory structure shall apply to the protected use ADU. In accordance with 760 CMR, no parking space shall be required for protected use ADU located within a half mile of a commuter rail station or bus stop. The way I want to be so picky and say they don't mean school bus stop, they mean, okay. Sorry, Pat. I'm sorry, Pat. Okay. Specific requirements for local accessory dwelling units. Either the principal dwelling or the local ADU shall be occupied by the owner as their principal residence. This owner occupancy requirement shall be made a condition of approval by the commissioner and restricted as such by a deed restriction filed with the Registry of Deeds. Local ADU shall be designed so that the appearance and scale of the structure is compatible with the principal dwelling. Oh, I have so many thoughts on that, but none for this meeting. All dimensional standards found in the zoning bylaw, including those for accessory structures and Table 3 dimensional regulations, shall apply to the local ADU with the exception of the additional lot area and family requirement. And the gross floor area for a local ADU does not include the area of unfinished basement space used for storage and utilities. Okay. Unless there are any other proposals for changes to make this clear, consistent, and actionable, is there a motion to find the accessory dwelling unit zoning amendment clear, consistent, and actionable?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, calling the vote. Counselor Ate?
Right.
Lynn?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. As I'm saving this, I have a question that's unrelated. Pat, don't get mad. Has anyone read the children's book, The Big Orange Splotch?
No.
It is one of my favorite children's books, and I will be referencing it in the council meeting when this comes up. If anyone would like to borrow my copy,
I would love to see it.
I might just bring it to the council meeting, Pat. All right.
Okay.
All right, friends. So next up, last up is our town manager goals and upcoming topics. So I took a stab at something today, and I want to talk about it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meetings left of GOL. Technically, we have 6, but one of them is scheduled for after the last council meeting. So I don't think that one's going to happen. Just going to anticipate that one, not unless we want to hang out. But
We could read the orange splotch
you could
aloud.
read the orange splotch. So I tried to hang on one second. Let me pull it up. In those 5 meetings, with the council meetings that come between, so really the 4 meetings, we need to finish the draft 2026 town manager goals and get them to the council for approval, and then feedback, and then edit them again. Last year, this process took us a long time, but last year we also were really significantly changing the format and the style of the goals. So hopefully, I am eternally optimistic that this year will go quicker. I wanted to just map out the last few meetings here and think about what the process looks like for us to think about these goals. At our meeting on the 20th, during my GOL update, I'm going to mention to counselors that this process is starting in earnest and that they need to start thinking about the action items that they would like to see in 2026. The challenge with this is that this process is happening at the same time as the town manager evaluation process, which is kind of the benchmark of what got done, what's left to do. So we're doing a little bit concurrently, and ideally they'd be a little bit more spaced out, but this is where we're at. So I will be asking counselors to start thinking about this. We are going to have to give counselors a deadline to give us their goals that they would like to see. When we're thinking about goals, I'm going to warn you in advance. I conflate 2 terms and I'm going to try to keep them separate, but I often conflate them. I often conflate the term action item and the term goal. We are going to primarily ask counselors to submit action items. Couple things to consider. You all saw when we looked at the town manager evaluation this year that we gave Paul way too many action items. We do this every year. This is not new. We cut back, but we've got a ways to go to make a feasible list of action items to do in a year. So we need to, as a committee, take all of the feedback. We will combine them, distill it down, and we need to go back to the council with a list that ultimately they are able to vote on for the town manager for the coming year. I've got a lot of learning from last year about things that I want to make sure do not happen again. But at the end of the day, the council is supposed to be taking a vote on yes or no on each item that should be included in the town manager goals. So I didn't finish. Oh yeah, we did. Okay. So sorry, I'm trying to get all my thoughts to gel. Basically, the gist of this is that the council will need to give us really strong feedback by the 10th so that we can look at I'll take a first stab at organizing the goals that we get, and we can pitch something back to the council for the fall. Like, we're going to have to go back and forth. I would love us to pitch something to the council by the 17th. We can try. Maybe we can pitch a couple areas at a time. But I think that realistically, we're going to have to do this on the 1st and the 15th at council. This is about twice as fast as we went last time, just for context. So we're going to have to be really efficient and a little bit brutal. I'll just warn you in advance. Don't get too attached to anything. We're going to have to be a little bit aggressive as we go through this. I would really love input and thoughts on this because truly I needed to just put something on paper for us to discuss. I'm not wedded to this, but I'd love to hear thoughts on the process, on the timeline, on what you would like to see done the same or done differently this year. And I did toss the goals from last year into your packet, but I can pull those up if it would be helpful. No thoughts? If it's helpful, let me pull this down. Oh, Lynn, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this works. I don't think we have much choice.
Right.
That's kind of where I'm at too. I don't know that unless we really shove the council to get us goals in some weird time that's in the middle of October, which won't work. So
Won't work because
Yeah.
they really aren't going to focus on them. I mean, they won't focus.
no, they won't. So I tried to push it as much as I could in terms of getting it done and but this is kind of where we're at. The scary part of this is as we transitioned into our next item, is all of the things that we have left on our docket. I'm bummed we didn't get through transportation today because that is now still remaining for us. So couple things that we've got left here. Many things. We have to finish the public ways changes and the Transportation Advisory Commission charge. We have voted the ADU bylaw, clear, consistent, and actionable. Thank you. So that is now off. We need to discuss, hopefully this will be brief, but one of the things this committee discussed in our conversation, has discussed in our discussions, is needed changes to the committee review of committee charges and rules. And part of the process that we've talked about is the need, sorry, let me refresh. Part of GOL's charge is to review committee charges and rules. Part of what this committee has discussed is the inefficiency of things going to GOL and then going to KP Law and then coming to GOL. I would like us to discuss a change in the charge of each committee to include legal reviews as relevant or whatever text we decide is perfect for that space so that committees themselves are receiving the legal review, not GOL, because ultimately
Makes sense.
often GOL is coming back with needing to send it back anyway. So I don't think that'll take very long. I just got to get it on an agenda. So that's the plan. That's planned for one of our upcoming meetings. Town manager goals will take us many, many meetings. We will have to begin our carryover memo at some point soon. Lynn.
I just want to mention on the issue of other things that we might want to deal with regard to the rules of procedure. I
Yeah.
actually think that the one you just mentioned, I think is worthy of doing as fast as we can. But the other ones, I think we can wait until we see what the Charter Commission, Charter Review
That
Committee
makes
comes
sense.
back with, because
Yeah.
some of their suggestions are going to be related to goals, not to the charter. So that's really next council's problem.
Wait. Sorry.
I mean,
Goals?
to-
Or you mean charges?
rules.
Charter Committee, the Charter Review Committee,
Yes, I understand.
is going to come back with recommendations, some of which have nothing to do with the charter, but probably have something to do with the goal, with our rules of procedure.
Rules. Yeah.
Right. So
Yep.
I think except for the change you just mentioned, which
Yes.
I think would be a critical one, it would be best for us not to try to tackle rules of procedure this year.
Until.
I haven't received, the way that we handled it was I waited to receive proposed changes and I did not receive any. I have sent the FinCom selection guidance and interview questions to Kathy for any comments. She said it looked fine. So we will be discussing as you know, we have a vacancy for a resident member on FinCom. So we will be discussing the interview questions and selection guidance for that committee. And we will also be reviewing the Charter Commission vacancy selection guidance and interview questions as well. We've got 2 proclamations at an upcoming meeting, Healthcare for All and Small Business Saturday. Those have both been referred. We have public urination, and I think that there was something else coming to us as well. So the things I just listed are things that have already come to us. There are several other things that committees are still working on. My brain isn't pulling them to the forefront in this exact moment, but you all are in the other committees, so you know that you're working on things and they will come to GOL. So we have a lot left to do. I'm going to ask folks I have already placed the 2 proclamations for next meeting in your packet. So please, in the packet for next week. So please take a look at those and come in with edits blazing if possible, so that we can just run through them quickly. I have also put the vacancy review questions and selection guidance in that packet as well. So please, again, come with edits. Otherwise, we're going to try to go quickly to an approval process. And then we write our carryover. Pat,
I'm just wondering, like, I'm thinking about public urination, da, 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 da,
I think about
Is
it a lot.
that- Is that really necessary to have completed before the end of December?
I mean,
Or
I think
can that be pushed for, as one of the carryover items? I mean, I think we have to prioritize in the material that we get what really needs to be done this year.
I hear you. I think that specific example, because I think that's more a council question, because I think that given how short that bylaw is, GOL's discussion might be very quick. It's a good question, and I think if the committee decides that they would like to have something moved and vote it to be a carryover item before we do the carryover memo, this committee could.
Yeah, I'm just picking.
I don't have a
that
good
up.
answer for you. It's a good question. Lynn?
Yeah,
Yeah, if you want, I could quickly review what has either been not scheduled or is in committee.
That would be helpful. I think it's something I have not done a great job of tracking where things are in committee. It's
It's
kind of
not the
hard.
most easiest thing to track.
Yeah.
On the on the 3rd of, no, actually on the 15th of no, 17th of November, the council is going to receive the draft resident oversight board bylaw.
Or the 10th of, I'm sorry, say that again?
Resident Oversight Board
Yeah, on the 10th of November or December?
in November, on the
on
17th.
17th.
I don't see any way that we're going to be able to complete that in this term.
No, I don't think so.
The human rights bylaw, I'm not sure what's happening with that, but if we get it again, it's going to, the earliest it'll come to us is right after November 3rd.
My understanding is that that bylaw is with Paul currently.
It is. The Heatherstone Road, that doesn't, housing production plan does not. Solar bylaw looks like it's not going to happen this term because the state is messing with their stuff. And we have ADU, the evaluation process we're in the middle of, town manager's goals, legislative process guide, that's still on our plate. Rules of procedure, we haven't talked about that. The streetlight policy, I don't think is coming forward. The refuse collection and recyclable materials is not going to happen this term.
Thank God.
And the anything regarding the intersection near the new elementary school isn't going to happen in this term. Okay.
Yep. So thank you, Lynn. We still have plenty to do in our last meetings. To circle back to the goals, if you all would like a chance to start your town manager evaluation early and concurrently prep for our future discussion on goals, it would behoove you to look at the action items and goals from 2025 and just note whether you personally believe that they should be placed on the goals for 2026, or whether they were complete. As you know, those are questions that we ask in the town manager evaluation, so you can get a jump start on knowing what your answers would be for that. But that's often where folks tend to start. I personally would rather start with a blank slate. I do not plan to put all of those goals on the table and say, let's decide, keep, leave, not, because I think it's too easy for us to say, let's keep too many of them. So as individuals, if you would like to look at the goals list and say, here are the ones that I believe to carry over, not just the ones that, let's carry it over because I don't really know what else to say about it. Mark on the goals which ones you would like to put on for 2026 and think about other action items that you would like to see, as well as how feasible they would be. Are there any questions about upcoming topics? As I noted, we will have an extra meeting on the 21st of October Thank you all very much for bearing with us here. I want to say bearing with me, but like it's also it wasn't it's necessary. It's not something I'm super excited about. So we have an extra meeting on the 21st, and then we have a meeting on the 28th. So we will be cranking out these items to get back to the council. Any other questions or comments? I think I got through everything. I hope I didn't miss anything. Okay. Other than that, I do not have any unanticipated topics. Thank you all very much, and just thank you in advance for your patience and graciousness as we go into the next month, which I think is going to be a bit of a doozy on all fronts. So thank you for showing up and being your wonderful selves and being thoughtful and kind-ish.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Gonna call the vote. Lynn?
Aye.
Pat?
No.
Thank you. Counselor Ate?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. The motion passes 3 in favor, 1 cranky. All right. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you all.
I'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you, Athena.
Good night.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.